Hi everyone, I am here today with my client Ellen and I'm going to show you guys a cool brunette balayage. So on Ellen's hair you guys can see she does have some warmth to it, especially throughout the mids and ends of her hair. But what I really want to show you as well is Ellen does have some banding on the interior of her hair. So you can see we start with her regrowth, come out to a bit of a lighter subsection, all the way out to having that warmth throughout her mids and ends. So this is really going to correct that, and we're going to be doing a combination of highlights, lowlights, and balayage. The first thing I'm going to do is apply Ellen's base color. We're going to use a 4N mixed 1:1 with 9 volume in our demi-permanent line to give her gray blending, because she does have a few grays throughout the interior and front of her hair. And this is really going to help to add depth and eliminate some of this warmth that you see. Again, I'm using 4N as her base color. And what I love about the 4N is it's gonna be a beautiful combination of richness and gray blending. And I am using our demi-permanent color. So one of the things I love about our demi-permanent color is you can mix it 1:1 and get 75% gray blending. So for someone like Ellen, who doesn't have a ton of gray hair, but just has a few that we want to cover and take care of, this is the perfect way to formulate to give her that no ammonia gentle formulation, but still the coverage and blending that she needs. I finished applying her base color. The next step is to section out the hair for the rest of the technique. The first subsection I'm going to take is a triangular subsection with the point towards the front of the head and the wide base area towards the back. This is going to be the basis for my pivotal foil placement. One of the things I love about pivotal foil placements is they give you max impact with minimal work. So in this entire subsection, I'll probably have a total of maybe 6 to 8 foils, but we're going to get a lot of impact from it. A couple things I'm looking for when I'm subsectioning this triangle out is that I'm just in front of the apex of the head. So you want to make sure that this triangle is more centered to the highest point on your client's head so that this pivot, where our pivot will exist for all of our foil placement, can live a little bit more towards the front. What I'm also looking for is underneath here, that any hair that falls down is at 0 elevation. So really looking at the curvature of the head and making sure I isolate all of that hair that might typically fall on that curve is up and in this subsection so we can treat it a little bit differently. Next, I'm going to go ahead and take this side point of my triangle all the way down to the ear and isolate the front from the back. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. And then finally in the back, I'm just going to divide this in half. That way I have 2 workable subsections where I can start doing my highlight and low light in balayage application. Now that my client's all sectioned out, I'm ready to begin my highlight and low light application. So starting in the back right quadrant, I'm going to take diagonals to create my subsections where I'll alternate my highlight and low light. Within each subsection, I'll be focusing on maintaining surface saturation. My first formula is my low light, and this is going to be our 4N. So just like our base, however, this is mixed 1:2 instead of 1:1 to give beautiful deposit, and since we don't need gray blending. My next subsection will create almost a triangular subsection from the previous, and this is going to allow each subsection to lay independently throughout the application. This subsection, I'm going to be utilizing my clay lightner mixed 1:2 with 20 volume. Again, really focusing on surface saturation, so my brush is going to stay nice and horizontal to my subsection, which will allow me to make sure that there's no bleeding. Couple tips for doing really nice, evenly blended surface saturation is using less product and less pressure. You can always add more, but it's hard to take it away. And I like using my glove or my hand to just blend in the opposite direction, and even my brush to do some texture brushing, just to ensure that this transition is super soft. Anytime I'm doing any sort of painting in surface saturation, I always like to try to focus on keeping my subsections at 0 elevation. That way, again, as I'm painting, that's exactly the way the hair is going to lay, so I know more predictably what my lightener application will look like. Anytime I'm trying to blend a base color with lightener, one of the things I always like to make sure of is that I'm combing through my subsection. I think one of the most common mistakes we make when we're trying to blend a base color with lightener is that we might use too much product and cause spottiness. So by combing this through, not only am I allowing that base to blend really seamlessly with the lightener application, but it also allows my lightener to lift cleaner as there's not a ton of product on the surface. Anytime I do surface painting, I'm really looking to create or maintain dimension. So rather than pushing my lightener all the way through, I'm allowing some of the color that's underneath this subsection to stay as it exists, which will just create more of a beautiful dimensional end result for my client. Now I'll do the same alternating process on the opposite side. Oftentimes when I'm working with stylists, anytime we see that oxidation between the lightener and the color, it's sometimes something that we freak out about, but I love seeing that because to me, it shows me that the products are blending together to really create a seamless diffusion. So don't get worried if you see that there's overlap between the two products and that oxidation is occurring. One of the things I love about using a clay lightener is it allows me to work freeform like this. So the benefit to using a clay is that it creates that outer shell on the exterior of your subsection to allow your lightener to maintain moisture on the inside, but have a clean application on the outside. Now I've completed the whole back subsection, and while this is a sectioned out application, it's slightly freeform because I'm really eyeing up the back of her head to figure out exactly where I want that depth to be added and where I want more highlight or dimension. Now I'm ready to focus on these two front subsections, and what I want to do is add some hairline detail. To do that, it's going to be a little bit different for every client as everyone's hairline is a little bit different and unique. So I want to first start by taking out any hair that exists on that perimeter. And here I'm just going to focus on adding a few highlights. This hairline detail is great because again, it creates a lot of impact with just a few little accent foils. From this front hairline subsection, I have two separate parts. This is going to be really great for our face frame piece, so I'll set that aside. And then over here towards the temple, I'm just going to do a micro weave. This is going to give me enough impact to kind of shatter that hairline, but still be nice and soft. Within my foils, I'm using our transparent lightener. And this product is so cool because it applies onto the hair totally clear. So for me as a colorist, this is amazing because it allows me to see that lifting process every step of the way, especially for a client like Ellen who has some banding. This is going to allow me to really figure out, again, in toning, what I'm going to have to formulate based on how she lifts. Now I'll do the same thing on the opposite side. Now I'm ready to work with these front face frame pieces, and rather than doing something too bold, I want to maintain a nice soft end result. So I'm going to go ahead and take this subsection right on the hairline. I'm just going to do a micro weave. With the rest of the hair in the front subsections, I'll do the same alternation with highlight and low light, utilizing a surface painting application. Now I'll do the same thing on the opposite side. Now I'm ready to start my final subsection, which will incorporate my pivotal foil design. To create a true pivotal foil design, you want to make sure all of your foils are stemming from this front point. Each foil is going to stem from this top point, creating elongated triangles. So to start, I'm going to go ahead and take a perimeter piece, and again, just create a really nice micro weave. With our transparent lightener, you really want to make sure you saturate each subsection extremely well. Because the product's clear, your eyes can sometimes trick you, so you always want to make sure there's enough product to really saturate each subsection. Now I've completed my pivotal foil design, and you can see how each foil stems from this top point and has a wider base down here. So now that that's complete, with this hair in between, I'm just going to go ahead and paint my low light color, which is 4N. Now that my client is processed and rinsed, I'm ready to tone. Kenra Color has a brand new demi-permanent shade called our Green Blue Rapid Toner. This is so amazing because it's specifically designed for brunettes, levels 4 through 6, that expose that really warm, deep underlying pigment. It's great because it tones really quickly and allows me to create a cool brunette end result on any client. The mixing ratio is 1:2, 1 part Rapid Toner, 2 parts 9 volume activator. And I'm using a bowl and brush. That's totally my preference, but you can also feel free to apply this with a bottle applicator. I love using porosity equalizing spray on my clients just to ensure that the color absorbs evenly. So where the hair is more porous, like on the ends, this ensures the canvas has a nice, even absorption point. When applying the rapa toner, I always advise to either start in the back or the warmest area. These rapa toners work really quickly, so it's always good to make sure that they're getting to process the longest on the areas of the hair that need it the most. If you're ever worried that the rapa toners will absorb too much, feel free to cut them with our clear gloss. Usually I like mixing it half and half, but you can totally customize the proportion based on however much control you want. Anytime I'm using a rapa toner, I always like to apply to the hairline last. This is usually a more porous area of the hair and tends to absorb quickly, so saving it for the last point of application is always a good idea. Anytime I'm using a rapa toner, knowing when to rinse it off is super important. What I typically like to look for is that the tonality has over-deposited slightly. This ensures that I'm not taking it off too soon and that I get the oxidation and longevity that I'm looking for. Here's our finished cool brunette balayage. What I love is I had the opportunity to really paint on this client and not worry about that warmth showing through because I could use our new green blue rapa toner. So she's got a lot of dimension, a lot of movement, but it still has that beautiful, cool balayage end result.